Hello there YouTube, say hello to the latest Fallout 4 build, the Brotherhood Sniper. I'm going to start with a quick apology. I'm a bit ill at the moment, so my voice may well sound different than it normally does. But with any luck, by the time I record the audio for the next build, my voice will be back to normal and the audio will therefore be a little bit better. Without any further delay, let's take a look at how to create the Brotherhood Sniper and who he is as an individual. The Brotherhood Sniper has a strength of 1, perception 3, endurance 1, charisma 1, intelligence 8, agility 7 and luck 8. Strength, endurance and charisma are not needed at all for this build. Power armour will give you a high strength stat whilst you're in it, and provides enough protection that you won't need high endurance. You also won't be solving many problems with your words, and this character doesn't have a talented tongue. Perception only starts at 3, but you will end up raising it in order to make VATS accuracy better and get a couple of perception perks. I found this was the best special stat to raise at a later point, as it doesn't have too much of a drastic impact to your character most of the time. Intelligence of 8 shows that this character is incredibly intelligent, and will also be able to get hold of the intelligence bobblehead fairly early on, so it'll be raised to 9 after you've gone up a few levels, and will make levelling even faster. Agility is at 7, so that we can have a decent number of action points to use, and grant us access to the ninja perk. This build burns through action points pretty fast, so we want to have plenty at our disposal. Finally, a luck of 8 will help us build the critical meter nice and fast, whilst giving us access to all the great VATS-based luck perks, after we get the luck bobblehead of course. Even before the bobblehead you're still getting access to some great perks. There are 5 perks in this build that I have dubbed as essential. These are Rifleman, Science, Sneak, Ninja and Better Criticals. I don't feel that these need too much explaining. Rifleman is for flat damage as you use sniper rifles, Science is for modding weapons and armour, and the last 3 are to make you be able to consistently deal high damage stealth attacks. The secondary perks for this build are Perception Training, Sniper, Scrounger, Critical Banker, Grim Reaper Sprint, 4-Leaf Clover, Nuclear Physicist and Action Boy. Perception Training is useful for this build as it will increase your VATS accuracy and will also get you up to the Sniper perk. The Sniper perk itself just overall makes scope rifles better, but also gives you the knockdown effect, and this is honestly just quite fun to watch, and makes one-on-one sniper fights with tough enemies one hell of a lot easier. Scrounger is going to get you some extra ammo, something which I've struggled with multiple times whilst playing this build. It will also yield you more fusion cores, making power armour sustainable earlier on. The 3 luck-based perks all essentially just make VATS worthwhile. It turns it from an auto-aim mode to one where you can constantly deal more damage through near infinite criticals and action points. Nuclear Physicist will make your fusion cores last longer. This build uses power armour and required high intelligence anyway, so it's worth getting this perk just to ensure that the fusion cores you keep on finding have a decent duration. Action Boy is just a really nice add-on for this build. The Brotherhood Sniper eats for action points really quickly, so being able to regain them faster comes in real handy. There is only one specific role-playing perk for this build, and that is Awareness. Although Awareness does have some practical use, especially for relatively new players, it is by no means going to make you more powerful. I find it works as a role-playing perk though, as I like to think that the Brotherhood Sniper modded his Pip-Boy in order to make it give him information on enemies and people when he uses the vault-assisted targeting system. The Brotherhood Sniper had a difficult childhood. Both his parents died when he was young, and he grew up as an orphan with no memories of them. He struggled socialising with his classmates in school and never really made any true friends during all of his school years. He was very quiet most of the time, and when he did talk to people, he often found that he was far more intelligent than them, to the point where they were never able to keep up with him in conversations, and would often avoid talking to him just to not have to deal with having to try and struggle to keep up. This high intelligence did at least mean that he graduated with some great grades. This was not only helpful but necessary, as the orphanage that he had spent almost his entire life in couldn't allow for him to stay for much longer, so he had to start looking into getting himself somewhere to live and a job to survive off of. He had no real goals for himself, as he had just really lived from day to day up until now, and nobody else had really left a lasting impression on him, so he had no real idea what career to pursue. Whilst out walking the streets, he happened across a recruiter for the army and pretty much had his mind made up for him. In next to no time at all, the Brotherhood Sniper was leaving his home behind forever and starting a long career with the military. Within the military, he was able to find true friends who were there for him and valued his intelligence as a useful asset, instead of something to be avoided. He was respected not only by his squad mates, but also by his superior officers, who saw the potential to train him as more than just a standard trooper. They moved him away from combat and into R&D. He spent his time creating prototype power armor suits and optimizing energy weapons for use on the battlefield. Although this work was very interesting, the Brotherhood Sniper didn't feel like he was achieving as much as he could out in the field. Ultimately, he wanted to make sure he was able to look out for his friends he had made whilst he was a foot soldier. The Brotherhood Sniper was a naturally stealthy individual and had been getting near perfect scores on the firing range, which made him ideal for sniper training. The military had been using the Brotherhood Sniper to work on cloaking power armour and laser snipers, so it made sense to have him be the one to do the field testing for this technology. If anything went wrong, then the man to fix it was already there. It was lucky that he had made the choice to leave the lab, as the day before he was set to deploy, the lab that contained his one-of-a-kind power armour and rifle was set ablaze. The Brotherhood Sniper himself saw the smoke rising from the firing range, where he had been doing some last-minute practice, and sprinted as fast as he could towards the lab. He ran through the flames and into the depths of the lab. Upon entering, he saw a figure obscured by the smoke and flames and called out to him to try and lead him to safety, but as soon as the words had left his mouth, the figure had disappeared. The smoke was incredibly thick, forcing him to the floor and making it impossible to venture further. He was barely able to crawl out of the building, and blacked out immediately after getting free of the smoke. The Brotherhood Sniper regained consciousness about a week later in hospital, and was told that he had been honourably discharged from the military. After leaving hospital, he had to try and live a normal life. He managed to adapt relatively well. He had made enough money in the military that he didn't have to get another job, and even met a female lawyer who later became his wife, and together they had a son. Throughout all of this though, the Brotherhood Sniper constantly thought of what could have been if that fire hadn't started. Unsurprisingly, the Brotherhood Sniper will be joining the Brotherhood of Steel. He doesn't believe in everything that they stand for. He doesn't hate most simps or non-feral ghouls, and sees them more as victims of circumstance than abomination. He has no quarrel with killing any of the other Wastelands creatures though, and if he is ordered to, then he usually won't have a problem with pulling the trigger. The main reason he chooses to join the Brotherhood over the other factions is they remind him of his time in the military, the one place he seemed to fit in. He doesn't bear any harsh feelings towards the Railroad or the Minutemen, and may even help them out with the odd job here and there if persuaded to do so. He doesn't like the Institute, but that's not particularly odd, seeing as they were sort of responsible for the death of his wife and the kidnapping of his son. Despite this, he doesn't bear as much hatred towards them as most people might. His time spent in the military taught him that most people aren't bad, but instead just following orders. As this is a sniper build, there is a strong argument for not having a companion with you in order to maximise your stealth capabilities. I personally chose to have a companion in the form of Paladin Dance. I felt this fitted better with the character than having him go alone. The main reason he's part of the Brotherhood is that he's trying to carry on his life from before the bomb spell in the way that he wanted, including spending time with his army friends, who in the post-apocalyptic world is Paladin Dance. There are two main weapons that you will be using for this build: Old Faithful and Righteous Authority. Righteous Authority will be modded out to be your VATS rifle, which means you will want to mod it out with an overcharge capacitor, improved sniper barrel, short stock and reflex sight. This is specifically to make it as efficient as possible in VATS, and the way this weapon is modded comes from a video that Major Slack did, and I'll leave a link to that in the description if you want to take a more in-depth look into the weapon, or just into his videos in general. Your other laser rifle, Old Faithful, will be modded for long distance scope sniping. Differences with this is that it will have a recoil compensating stock, a fine-tuned beam focuser and a scope of your choice. I went with the medium scope myself, but I recommend testing out a few different ones to see which you prefer the most. Old Reliable has the instigating legendary effect, meaning that it does double damage if the target is at full health, which is great for a one-shot kill sniper. Combine this with sneak criticals and you can kill the vast majority of enemies in one hit. In addition, Old Reliable is really easy to get early on, as it is sold by Arturo in Diamond City Market. Righteous Authority isn't that much harder to get, as all you have to do is help out Paladin Dance with the first quest he officially gives you, and then he will give you the rifle. This weapon does double critical shot damage and makes the critical meter feel 15% faster, making you an absolute killer in that. I do suggest carrying another ranged weapon in case you run out of fusion cells. As both your main weapons use the same ammo, you obviously can't switch to the other if you run out. I personally went with Kellogg's pistol, as it's a powerful legendary weapon that's light and easy to acquire, but I'll leave the choice of sidearm up to you. In terms of armour, you will be spending most of your time in power armour, specifically a full suit of Brotherhood T60. By playing through as the Brotherhood, you will end up with the Exemplar's T60C torso, which reduces your action point cost in VATS, which helps to make Righteous Authority even more powerful. In terms of modding this armour, as you don't have the Armourer perk, you can only upgrade it to Model B. This won't be too big an issue as you don't want to be getting hit that much anyway. On your helmet, I would recommend building yourself a VATS matrix overlay in order to make VATS accuracy even better than it was. You don't want to be wasting shots, so this is definitely a worthwhile mod. The one mod that will make the suit of power armour suitable is the Stealth Boy. This activates a stealth field whenever you crouch and will slowly drain your action points at a constant rate. This isn't much of a problem with this build as you get action points back very quickly, in part through kinetic servos in both the legs, giving you increased action point refresh speed whilst moving. Underneath the power armour it doesn't really matter all that much. If you want to stay light and keep your carry weight down, then I suggest just going for Brotherhood fatigues. I personally went with a Brotherhood of Steel uniform and Brotherhood painted combat armour. Not only will this remind the Brotherhood Sniper of his past military uniform, but also gives you some added protection outside of power armour, something that's very useful before you can stay in it full time. There's also some great legendary combat armour pieces you can buy from vendors. Arguably the best for this build are the Commando's chest piece and helmet, which increase your action point refresh speed and reduce VATS cost. Whichever of these outfits you go for though, make sure to wear a pair of patrolman sunglasses. Not so much for the perception bonus, more so that they make you look pretty damn badass. For the most part, this build functions fairly standard sniper, especially whilst out of power armour. You will want to use Old Faithful for distance sniping outside of VATS, and Righteous Authority for closer shots in VATS to deal with any enemies who try and attack you. Whilst you're in power armour, I suggest playing more like a real world sniper would, finding yourself a good location where you are hitting, taking your shot, and then redeploying. Whilst you are preparing to take the shot, your power armour will cloak you, making you invisible to enemies, and when you redeploy, it will regen your action points nice and quickly, making it so that you are all ready to take the next shot once you reach your new location. You can even use the stealth field to try and sneak past relatively nearby enemies, but be careful when doing this. The stealth field seems to drop if you exceed about 1 mile per hour. Even if you are discovered, it's not game over like it is with most sniper builds. Being encased in power armour makes you far harder to kill, meaning that the event of a firefight breaking out, you will rarely need to flee, but instead can just pull out Righteous Authority and build up those crits whilst vaporising everyone around you. Thank you all very much for watching my latest build. I hope that you all enjoyed it, and once again I apologise for the slightly different voice. With any luck, I'll be healthy and back to normal for next week's build. Please like, subscribe and share this video to let me know that you want to see more videos like this one.